So here what we are trying to do is, we have invited 3 young social entrepreneurs or activists who have taken up the unique social idea and created a enterprise around it. And they have really done it very well. And they are different, and they are doing it very well. So let's welcome them on stage and hear what they have to say and how they provide the insights into this unique model which they are following. So I would like to welcome on stage Prerna Mukharia, founder, Outline India; Faith Gonjalves, Executive Director at Music Basti; and Yogita Bayana, Social Development. Welcome. Sankalp, Yogita. So all of them are going to speak in turn for 5 to 10 minutes. And after that, we will have 5 to 10 minutes of question and answer session, right? So we will start with Prerna. Welcome, Prerna.
Hi.
Welcome.
Working, right? Hi, everybody. I'm Prerna Mukharia, and I run a data startup called Outline India. And when I talk about data, I'm not just talking about machines and algorithms, but I'm talking about people and their stories. Outline India is geared towards making the lives of people in India, 70% of whom live across rural India, and about making their lives just a little bit easier. And I'm going to describe to you how we think about doing this. So whether you're a philanthropist or a CSR agency and you're trying to sort out a problem which is as simple as where a particular hand pump needs to be installed, or whether you're the government and you're wondering the effectiveness of Jan Dhan Yojana, and not just from the point of view of the government, but from the point of view of the stakeholder as to why people in rural parts of India are maybe not so keen on going out there and opening their bank accounts. Maybe access is an issue. Maybe there is no ATM in the nearby area. And maybe trying to understand the effectiveness of campaigns. So if I have a Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Andolan, is there a real behavioral change, so to say, or are we just talking on the surface and people are programmed to say X, Y, and Z? I think India is a land of the divided, and people such as you and I are not representative of a majority of us who live in rural and remote parts of India, 70% of whom, by the way, are not online. So when we discuss our Twitter feeds and our Facebook walls and debate what we see on TV channels, we're not talking about this superset of the population, and I think that's a problem in India. I think a lot of times when we're talking about startups and technology and our Flipkarts, we forget that we're not talking about a business opportunity at the bottom of the pyramid. And if we were to start thinking about this massive populace, I think there is so much to do out there. So at Outline India, we think that if we can maybe So at Outline India, we think that maybe if we can make a difference at the grassroots level, we can maybe create real change. I want to use this platform today to talk about the many struggles, the mundane, the boring, and the micro failures all of us go through when we set up a social enterprise. And I think we don't talk about these issues often enough. I think we often find ourselves very, very lonely when we think about the greater good, because results are not as quick to come by, because change is often not easy, and because we think that maybe we're the only ones suffering those through issues. And I've seen this in the development sector. When we talk about academics and when we talk about donor agencies, we often hide results when we see that our interventions have failed. We often hide insights when they might make our programs look weak. But I think it is platforms such as the Shared Value Initiative which maybe allow us to step forward and say that, listen, I failed at this point, maybe you can help set up a more robust model. If I am running a social enterprise called Outline India, maybe you can help me build tech that will cater to this superset of the population I so dearly call India that lives in rural parts. I want to talk about a couple of examples about issues and mindsets in the development sector. When I, as a 26-year-old, set up the company and went around knocking on various doors, people didn't understand why I wanted to do field work. They thought that maybe field work and getting on the ground is not for somebody who comes from a certain background. If you're educated or if you're somebody who's lived abroad, maybe you wouldn't be able to do field work. So I think that's a stereotype that we've largely broken. I was then told that setting up as a for-profit initiative in the development sector is not something that people would be open to. That's an idea that's not necessarily welcomed. That's again the stereotype that we've broken. We've been around for 4 years. We've worked in 21 states. We've worked in about 1,600 plus villages. We're sustainable, we are bootstrapped, and we're going strong. I was also told that, Prerna, what you do is not so fancy. We're talking about technology, and here you are. You're largely services-oriented, and you're talking about people. But, who cares about these stories? That's not what sells. And when I go up to people, I say to them that, we're in an initiative that's grassroots driven. We loop in technology, but we're talking about technology for the masses. So, for instance, right now, we're piloting the usage of UAVs and drones for social access research. So if I'm a child living in a rural village and I see that the school is just about 2 kilometers away, but absenteeism rates are really high, the idea is to try and understand why the child is not going to school. But if I loop in visual imagery, and I'm talking about Google Maps that is largely absent from a lot of villages across India, maybe visual imagery will help me understand why that child is not getting to school. Maybe there's a stream in between. Maybe there's a forest in between. Or maybe my household is located at such an altitude that doesn't allow me to access these government infrastructural facilities. So I definitely do think that technology can play a very big role in social enterprises, but that's definitely not the end-all and be-all of it. I think that when you run a social enterprise, you have to be fairly enterprising, that you have to make ends meet, but you also must be sustainable. You must not be driven by donor goals, and staying independent, I think, is very, very critical. And you must always remember that at the end of the day, the idea is to create a social good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Faith Gonzalez, and I run a program in Delhi called Music Basti. I'm just going to take off from where Prerna left it. So interestingly, there is a lot of compelling data that shows across the world that music programs play a really important role in primary education, but right through the education system. And as she also said, there's a large superset of our population that has access to really poor quality of education. And even though our program is specifically urban-based, a lot of it is very relevant in rural areas as well. And we are piloting our program in rural areas as well today. But what I'd like to share today is a little bit about what we do, and then keeping with the theme of storytelling, just to share with all of you how we use storytelling in our programs. Right now, we've been running our program now for about 8+ years, and in the last 4 years, we are developing a model that we would like to scale in government schools and in what are called low-income private schools that cater to a certain demographic of children that are accessing the lowest rung in terms of quality of education. A lot of them are first-time learners, their parents have never been to school, and it's the first time that they are accessing this education system. Our program, we are trying to fit it in to that education system as something that is not extraneous to the system, but that is very much integrated and part of that learning process for children. I think we're all aware of the state of education in India. I mean, every other week there's news about teachers, there's news about, like she was saying, there's such poor access to schools. But more than that, I think there's also a critical problem with the content and the curriculum and the methodology that is being used here. Creativity is one of the skills, I think, that comes up as something a lot of Indian students are really short on, in spite of, I think, contradictorily, you'll see a lot of social people working in what you call enterprising individuals. But if we sort of look at what the education system is producing world over, I mean, what we are producing, there's definitely a very distinct gap. And those of us sitting here in this room, we've been through a certain kind of education system that even allows us to be in a space like this to engage with each other on these issues. But what we are trying to advocate for is children that come from the majority of the population that don't have access to this kind of education system. There are ways to mold and shape that system in order to allow them to achieve their best. So our mission through our program is to use music as a tool to allow children to achieve their best. Like Prerna was also saying, I'm just trying to pick up points. I mean, even though our program is completely donor dependent, we have tried to create an independent program that looks at a really specific outcome, which is not training children for shows like Indian Idol or we're not training circus monkeys to perform. But our program is really about using it as an educational tool, integrating it in the classrooms, as something that children can learn through their school life. Some of the best educational systems in the world use arts and music as a core subject. It's not something that is, all of us have been through arts as an ECA or an extracurricular subject, if at all. But what we are trying to do at the lowest rung of education is introduce it, use a really creative, fun, improvisation-based methodology that helps children learn a lot of skills. We focus on specific life skills or 21st century skills or social skills that we look at as outcomes through our program. The ones that we focus on are confidence, communication, building creativity, and also a sense of community among the population that we work with. Our program is a one-year program that we run right now that we're piloting in schools and low-income government schools and low-income private schools. And it culminates in the children learning through the basic program, writing their own music and songs, and then performing at various public platforms. We host our own concert every year. And tomorrow, in fact, a group of our students is performing at the largest platform in the country right now. So there's a concert in Bombay called Global Citizen that's bringing together people from across the country and the world. So I think it's also a testament that these kinds of programs have a very important role to play in putting out a certain message about where these children come from, what the ground reality of their education and family life is, and the kind of communities they come from. So there's just, I'd actually created a small slide, but I'd just like to share just in conclusion, one of the pieces that one of our students had written. So this didn't actually culminate into a song, and if you'd like to access some of the music that our students write, we have albums online if you look them up. This is a piece that students had written in a boys' residential shelter last year, and it's just to show that writing songs, music, and giving children that tool can be a really powerful way of allowing them to talk about and share the journey and the experience that they are going through at that moment. And it's also an interesting piece considering the onset of winter. So a few boys, they're about 8 to 12 years old, they wrote this short piece, and they were working to kind of create a song out of it. So and this is a translation in English. How ideal would it be to sleep on the floor on cold winter nights with 1.5 blankets? With 2 blankets on him, it would be too warm too soon. 1 blanket would be 1 blanket too less too soon. He needs the second blanket only a few hours into the night, when the newspaper packing on the cracks of the window panes and doors begins to give way to the damp winter winds. It's the worst feeling, he said, to wake up in the dead of the night, cold, and to realize that someone stole your second blanket from right under your feet. If only there were as many blankets as there were tiny feet. If only it wasn't such a luxury to sleep with 1.5 blankets. So these are kids that live in a residential shelter that are being educated by an NGO that we've been working with. And they have gone on to write songs and perform in various public platforms as well. But there's a tremendous role that arts programs that we advocate for play in the education system, around the education system, in really helping to draw out skills that children need to be successful. We don't in any way advocate necessarily for children to be artists, but I think as a community that has an influence on what the education agenda is, it's very important, we believe, to advocate for the integrated use of arts in the curriculum. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yogita. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on value system, shared value summit. Basically, I am from a different background altogether. I was in aviation industry. This is supposed to be very glamorous, and then there were a lot of issues which were like hitting my heart, and wanted to do something on social issues, and I quit my job overnight, wanted to do something, had no idea where to go, how to go about it, had no education qualification as such per se to do social development. But then it's a journey of 10 years now. I had quit my job in 2007, almost 10 years. And when I started with health sector, went into working for homeless people, doing education programs, gender sensitization in slum areas and other parts of the cities and the country, I have realized one thing: all these social issues are interrelated. All these social development programs are interrelated, and they can't do without each other. And looking in this room, now coming back to my core field, which is gender equality, gender sensitization, and women empowerment, these are also interlinked with other issues. We three of us, all women, are sitting here on the panel. It gives me a lot of privilege to be here. But at the same time, when we look at this audience, I'm not being very sarcastic, but just showing you the mirror, the reality is that very handful of women are sitting in this room. This is the exact reason of all the sexual violence, all the crime against women, because we don't get the opportunities, we don't get the leadership roles to play, from roads to from a shop, running a shop, to the parliament, from judiciary to policing. We really don't have major roles for women. I was discussing with this women cabinet minister of late. I had met her, and I was asking her, ma'am, why we are begging 33% in parliament. Rather, we should deserve it naturally, because we are almost 49% of the population. We contribute to this country. So why not we get it naturally? Why we have to fight for 33%? I don't know from where this figure of 33% has come. So she told me very clearly, and her answer actually shook me, and she said, count your blessing there. At least few of us could make it to there. So, you don't crave, at least be happy about it. But I was not satisfied with the answer, because there are 543 parliamentarians and only 60 women are there. So I'm not very happy with the answer. This is the time for a revolution. We all need to contribute, and the right audience is there, like you are corporate leaders, and only 15% of the population contributes of women in corporate sector. 23% reach out to the level of board of directors. And now the new Company Act has come, which says after 2013, one women director has to be there on your panel. But this is only on papers. They are not playing any active role. So this platform gives me a lot of opportunity to pursue and plead and ask you for our due rights. So this is exactly what I have to say. Otherwise, things are not going to change. I've been working with the families of rape survivors, sexual violence. I'm also working with children, child abuse. So I have come to a conclusion: unless we change our mindset, there are two things to every system. One is like resources, one is the attitude. So in the lower segment, when we talk about grassroots level, they don't have resources, they don't have attitude. But trust me, they have so much they are willing to learn. Because when I give you an example, I went to a village where I have adopted that village. I'm doing holistic development there. So when I spoke to the villagers there, in the first meeting, out of population of 4,000 people, there were 200 men. First meeting I took, there were 200 village men. And I was a little disappointed. I told them that next meeting I must see few women. At least one woman should turn up so that I can tell her and inspire others. I was not, though I was very confident, but I told them, I'm not happy heading 200 men. So next meeting, to my surprise, there were more women than men. I mean, it was just one request I made to them, and the next meeting, there were more women than men, and now the whole village is developed by women, more women than men. So this gave me a lot of hope that they are willing to change. They don't have resources, but they have the attitude. Here, I'm sorry to say, so-called educated society has the resources, but don't have the attitude. This is my humble summation, and I think Pink Revolution has to start again, and it has to start from this room. Please hire more women. Please give them good opportunities, equal salaries, maternity leaves, all the benefits, so that they perform and they turn out to be the best in the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we had three diverse thought processes here. One was that how to bring creativity into the education. Second is how to go for the women empowerment. And third is how to identify the why Why, if a children is working in a school in a rural village, why he is not going to the school and everything? How the technology can help here. So now I'm throwing the floor open for 3 questions, and which we may ask the panelists here, and then we will close this. Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Professor Dr. Saurabh Agarwal from Indian Institute of Finance. So, ma'am, you raised a very important question of women revolution which should come into India. And fortunately, we have had a country where a woman has been a prime minister, Srimati Indira Gandhi. We've had almost 10 years whereby the major ruling party was managed by a woman. And we've had success stories like Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, and we've had like Vandana Luthar, who despite resistance from her family, started the company, and it's one of the best companies. Even in this demonetization, VLCC gave 100 rupee notes to its all employees. So we have women making a lot of change. Now my question to you is, you've raised a very important issue. I think, is it not that women are not coming forward to be trained and making the sacrifices that are needed for a corporate job that they're not getting to the top level? For example, I tell you, the daughter of Adi Godrej, she herself in an interview said, I was pregnant, and as a rule, after 1 month, we have to join. What is the rule applicable to all the women is applicable to me also, and I will join. And she did it, and there's a crèche there, she kept her children there. So is it not required also on the behalf of women to change their attitude and not look for special exemptions, which has become something very common? I hope you, since you are working on the ground floor level, you will note as well. Also, we talk about, in director, there are a lot of other rules also which are not being, independence of directors. Hardly any, even if you look at the current Tata Mistry battle, even the directors are not independent. And especially in PSUs, where one woman director is required, openly, public sector undertakings which are supposed to be mandated to follow the rules, they are also not keeping one woman director. And whoever is, she's not contributing. I mean, they're not making her able to contribute. So how we change it?
I think we all are sitting from corporates. First, I'll address your first question that you counted on Indira Gandhi and you named Kiran Majumdar, Vandana Luthra. See, you had to think and only got 4 names. In the sense, we are only having... Why? I mean, see, we have only few names. You trust me, like I have been doing a lot of training sessions with children and all. I only can think of 10 names. I can't go beyond that. So this is the exact reason why I need to change this. Why we are differentiating it. Why we have to do inclusive kind of growth. So that is one answer. Second, you said women are taking advantage. Yes, they are taking advantage. But definitely 1 month is not feasible. Being a mother, I am telling you. Yes, there are rules not followed, but let's start. We were talking about corporate social responsibility. Why can't we talk about, this is like I created, I don't know, then must have spread around, but individual social responsibility is also something. So start with your organization, start with you. You give equal opportunities to women, and rest, let them do their own karmas, let them do whatever they want, but then definitely you will inspire them, you will influence them. So this is exactly what I have to say to you.
I think I want to say something. I think what you said was actually slightly offensive, saying that, women aren't coming forward. So when you talk about the Godrejs and the Vandana Luthras, they are not representative of women in India, and I think making such sweeping statements is the very problem with the Indian corporate system and the not-for-profits and so on. I think you need to start thinking about providing a very holistic environment for a woman to come forward, right? In a lot of cases, the girl child doesn't go to school because it isn't a safe environment. About girls coming back from work, do you have the necessary setup for them to come back late into the night if they're staying in late? Just saying that, listen, are women trying hard enough? I think that's not fair to say. And I think at no point, or at least a lot of us are not asking for special treatment. I think having a women's compartment in a metro is not a sign of progress. I think that's regressive, right? You need women to be treated at the same plane as you do treat your male colleagues, but at least initially the mindsets have to change. And I think if educated people such as us are having this debate, I think there's a critical problem right there, you know? So,
Okay, we can have one more question, please.
I think, sorry, I had to say this. I don't think we can say this as an exemption. And I also don't think all men think like the same. And this is not the majoritarian view. This is a right and this is a rule. And I would like to say all my male friends here that men are not complete without women and without womb. So we are not giving any charity. That is a right. And if today we are not going to do it, as you said, it may be Adi Godrej or somebody else, but ask Adi Godrej how much he contributed for that ecosystem. So I strongly feel, and we are working in this sector on women empowerment, and I can see that this is high time to give exemptions to men. And attitude, I totally agree that there is no question. I mean, we should not question about it. Anybody talking like this, they should get back to the home and talk to their moms, and they'll get their answers.
Actually, the main problem is with our prayers, our blessings, everything. Our textbooks, they say, Mohan, bahar khelne ja, Kamla khana bana, ya Kamla gudiya se khel. And then our prayers also say, Andhan ko aankh det, Kodin ko kaya, Banjan ko putra det. And this is what we do every day. In our subconscious mind, we are promoting gender discrimination. And then we have blessings, Duto naho, puto palo. And we expect this country to have gender equality. I'm sorry, we have a long way to go.
I think we can have one more question. Sorry.
I think the suggestion question also that what we are talking, everyone, actually should start from our own home. Like how we are treating our wife, how we are treating our girls. Then it comes to the corporate sector. Something when come to the financial decision, how we are involving our wife or how we are involving our girls. Even for buying small things, when you are buying a TV or you are buying something assets, how much you are involving your girl or your wife. And unless otherwise, it will happen in each house. It cannot happen in the corporate world. It cannot happen in the parliament. What is my view?
This is exactly what I said. Individual social responsibility has to start, and it has to start from teachers and parents. They are the only role model, and it has to start from children. Anything, any change you want to bring in, children are the right place. Children are the right target group. But definitely you guys are there. You can still try and instill this feeling of women at par on your board and whatever positions. But definitely it has to start from childhood, and value system education should be there. I mean, this is exactly the core thing.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think that is the power of women empowerment.